I'm going to promise you two things by the end of this advert. You're going to know how to sleep better and what Fabian Cancellara wears in bed. Now, I've done a lot of research into sleep for Cyclist Magazine, and all the experts I've ever talked to all agreed on two things. Good sleep is linked to better health, better recovery and better performance, and yet the average person undersleeps by 54 minutes a night, which is the equivalent to losing almost a whole night's sleep per week. So it's no wonder sleep has been such a huge area for gains in cycling. Everyone remembers Team Sky bringing their personal pillows and sheets to the Tour de France, I think. So that's why Tudor Pro Cycling has teamed up with Swiss sleepwear specialists, Dagsmian, whose revolutionary fabrics help promote better sleep. So for hot weather or hot sleepers, there's Dagsmian's Stay Cool sleepwear, which claims to be 60% more breathable than cotton and dries in a third of the time. Then for the performance obsessed, there's Dagsmian's Recovery, whose Nat Recover fabric claims to enhance muscle regeneration by recycling excess body heat into infrared energy. It's similar to the therapeutic effects of sunlight on muscles. So it's clever stuff, and as well as Tudor Pro Cycling's Julian Alaphilippe and Mark Hershey being decked out in Dagsmian sleepwear, it's of course the pyjama choice of team owner Fabian Cancellara too. So head on over to dagmejan.co.uk, that's DAGSMEJAN.co.uk to find out more, and use the code CYCLIST15 at the checkout to get 15% off. Welcome back to the Cyclist Magazine Podcast. I'm your host, James Spender, and I'm really excited to have joining me down the wire Mr. Will Strickson, because I feel like I haven't seen you for ages, Will. You've been doing this with Robin.
I know.
Let's welcome today's guest, who needs no introduction, but we'll do a very brief one anyway. It is Stephen Roche, the only other man except for Eddy Merckx and Tadej Pogačar to have won the Triple Crown, which is the Giro, the Tour de France, and the World Championships in one season. And the year was, Will?
90? Don't know. Before my time.
Oh, come on. 1987.
I knew it was
Big
80s.
Big year for the Irishman. And father of Nico Roche, who we also had on the podcast. So I talked to Stephen about that Triple Crown winning year. And I say Will was not involved in this one. I can't remember. There were reasons, but it's just me. So but don't, those Strickson fans out there, just tune out for the next hour and come back, and then we'll tell you about the upcoming stages in the Tour de France. For everyone else, Stephen and I talk about his time at ABCC, which is the athletic cycling club that loads of pros cut their teeth in France back in the day. His progress through those early years, and then his amazing season, which basically, although he won all this stuff, made him an absolute villain in Italy. Quite a hated man in cycling for a short amount of time by a certain number of fans, which is really horrible. So there we go. That's sport, and this is Stephen Roche. I'm going to say you come across as a very unflappable person, and as a very clunky segue to asking you about yourself as a rider, would that be your kind of personality? Were you able to deal with someone like Hinault telling you to ride, or de Clos-Lassalle telling you off for mussing his hair later on, and not let it kind of get under your skin, and not let that morale get too eroded by in situations like that?
Well, I think I was, in a way, very respectuous towards these guys, but at the same time, I was, outspoken. You know, for example, we had, in the early season, we had the Grand Prix of Monaco, and I had being placed in a couple of races, like all the early season races. We arrived in Monaco, and Jean-René Bernardo was just a new guy in the team, who had just left Bernard Hinault as his right-hand man and had come to Peugeot as being the future star of French cycling. So we arrived in Monaco, the Grand Prix of Monaco. We did a few laps, and I'm in the front with two other Peugeot riders, Jean-René Bernardo, and another guy called Bernard Bourreau, and two or three other guys. So I'm riding really, really well. And I'm thinking, geez, I could win this. It's a uphill circuit to the finish, down to Monaco, finish on the port. I can win this, So second last lap, I attacked, and to kind of see how things were. And when I was brought back then by the group, I was told, Bernard says to me, Stephen, the car wants to talk to you. Maurice Dumer, the sportif, wants to talk to you. So I slip back to the car, and Maurice says, Roche, Bernardo wins. I says, excusez-moi, Bernardo wins. I thought, but I'm riding very strong. Roche don't understand. Bernardo wins. I said, okay, well, so I kind of took it easy on the climb, got over the top, and we're coming down into the port of Monaco, and I'm really going fast. Bernard Hinault comes over to me and says, Roche, I'm second. I just, Bernardo come in, okay, but you and me are going to fight it out for second place. So I went down to the port of Monaco. I led the sprint out. I opened the door for Bernardo. Bernardo came through, and I closed the door, and I put poor Bernard Hinault on the barriers nearly, because there was no way he was going to come past him like that, you know. So we had a good laugh about it afterwards, but like I said, it was like a learning curve. Like that night, Maurice Dumer says to me, Stephen, you know, I'm sorry, but, you know, has to be done. Like, Bernardo was coming to this new team at Peugeot as the next French successor to Bernard Hinault. If he wins this race, Peugeot gets front page tomorrow in L'Equipe. If Roche wins, he might get a quarter of a little column in the paper in Dublin, but nobody cares in France. So very quickly and very simply, I understood that, you know, and the way things worked. So and that's the way it was. But on another opportunity, then I gone on. Then I won Paris-Nice and Tour de Corsica, and we were riding the classics. And I was riding well, but I was very tired. And they were putting me into all the races, and I needed a break. So took a break between I think it was Paris-Roubaix and or before Paris-Roubaix, I took a small break, and I rode really well for Douglas LaSalle. He punctured, I got my wheel, got back on again. He punctured again, I got my another wheel, and I finished like in the second group, but I rode really well. So Maurice Dumer says to me afterwards, what can you see now the way you rode? If only you hadn't had a break during the week and gone on holidays, you'd have been up there in the front with Duclos. But I'd given him my wheel twice, you know. So anyway, he said, you're a cyclist now, a pro cyclist. You're not a tourist anymore, you know. I said, okay, messy, thank you. So we went on then, and from there went on into the same week, Flèche Wallonne and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. And we had like before every event, we had a big meeting, and everybody was all around, and Maurice explained the race route and the tactics and everything else. And he says, well, so tomorrow, who can I count on tomorrow? Duclos, how are you? Yeah, I'm okay. Phil Anderson, how are you? Yeah, I'm okay. Giovanni, how are you? I'm okay. And you, Roche, what are you going to do? So I said, I'm going to bring my camera and be the tourist and take photographs. So there was silence in the room. Silence. So Maurice then had a go at me. And I said, Monsieur le Maire, I said, you're speaking now as out of context. We're not talking about the race here. You're attacking me personally. If you want to attack me like this, you come to my room after the meeting and we talk about it, not in front of all my teammates. And there was a bigger silence in the room.
I bet.
So anyway, we and also I always remember the waiters were coming in with the coffee at the end of the meal, and the waiters kind of froze at the entrance to the restaurant. You know, what's going on here? You know, it was very, very big tension. And anyway, we left that meeting anyway, and we came outside, and Jack Boississa and Douglas LaSalle says, Stephen, you've signed your
kind of death warrant.
Your licenciement. You've signed you're going to be sacked. You can't talk to Monsieur de Maire like that and get away with it. But ironically, like about 6-7 years later, I was having a cup of coffee, champagne with Maurice. Maurice only drank champagne, no coffee. And he had a house down here in the south of France. And we're having a good talk about different things. He says, Roche, you know, what I liked about you was there's no gray area. It was white or it was black. What you did to me that day, those other guys would loved to have spoken to me like you did, but they haven't got the balls to do it.
Yeah.
You know? So he said it was really, for a young guy, he was very surprised that I was actually able to, you know, had my own way of doing things. and I was being straight and correct, but I wasn't making any mistakes. But I wasn't going to be intimidated by anybody, which I suppose in a way it's I wasn't kind of the pretentious guy either who was out there, all about myself, But I was able to kind of stand up and talk for myself, and that gained me a lot of respect between the riders and the managers.
So what year was that? This is Peugeot. Is this like 83?
Yeah, we've been 81, probably 81, 82, yeah.
And those were those early years, and those were interesting teams because they were predominantly French. But then you had these people, a lot of them from ACBB, like a Sean Yates or like an Alan Piper,
Robert Miller, Phil Anderson. Yeah.
Did you guys band together and kind of do your own thing, and then the French guys did their thing, and ultimately it was a French team? And like you were told, you're here to get column inches for the French guys and to keep as many as possible, not really for yourselves. Or did you feel that you were able to go out and get results?
Well, I always felt that if you have the legs and the ability, you don't need to talk.
Yeah.
And when I went pro, like in 81, Robert Miller had been there, Graham Jones had been there, getting reasonably good results. But when I arrived, I was getting really good, exceptionally good results. So, I didn't really... and I was very, very ambitious. And, so I didn't really have to do the verbally talk. I was in the good groups. I was always in the good breakaway groups. I was riding well in time trials. I was riding well whenever it counted, really. And then the other guys like Graham Jones and Robert Miller, they all lifted themselves. They all rose up to a different level as well, maybe. But we didn't. I don't think that I didn't really feel animosity there between the other riders. Although I know there was, a lot of jealousy there.
Yeah.
But once you went pro, you were at the table, say.
Yeah.
Whereas when you were amateur with the ACBB, everybody wants to go to that table, and you're taking there's only so many seats.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a pro, you're there, so you aren't really kind of taking any bread from these guys. You're sharing what's there. So but what I used to do, which I found was very clever, I used to we used to get these the prize money. So, for example, Peugeot would say put a bonus in for a win or second or third place. So what I used to do was when I got my bonus from my team, I would leave my bonus to the team and say 10% of that bonus goes to the staff and the rest goes to the riders. Because the way I looked at it was, if I get €1,000 as a bonus, for example, and that's €1,000 I'm going to give to declare to the tax man, I'm going to end up at €500.
Yeah.
Where if I give €1,000 to my teammates, I'm giving €1,000 to my teammates.
Yeah.
And tomorrow when I need these guys to ride for me, they will bury themselves. So I won't say I bought them over, but they knew that if they helped me, and if I was going to win it, that they in turn got good payday. So that helps, and helped a lot more then than today, because not everybody's earning good salaries today. Where in those days there was most guys in our team that the wives had to work because the basic salary wasn't enough to have a really good lifestyle.
Yeah. So you were going pretty well by 83. That was the season. Did your first Tour de France, finished 13th. You were third at the World Champs. Won the Tour of Romandie. So you're in the ascendancy. Did you at that point? Was that when you decided you would move teams, or was there some other kind of change or wrangle between yourself and Peugeot? Because one of the things I notice is for a long time in your career, there's that moment where you're riding in Peugeot shorts, and then you've got a Carrera top, as if an old team still owns you, which is you never see riders in mismatched kit, especially sponsor mismatched kit. So was there some kind of legal wrangle going on?
Yes, and especially we were riding Bataclan bikes.
Right.
To adding to the twist, So yes, there was a twist there, because when I in 1983, the director of the team in Peugeot was changed. Maurice Demer had handed over to a guy called Roland Berlon, who's an ex French champion and an ex Renault team rider with Bernard Hinault, and he was the new director sportif. but he was very arrogant. And when I before going to the Worlds, we had a talk about prolonging my contract for 84, 85. And we spoke about conditions, but didn't actually, agree on money, whatever. I said to listen, I'm not going to sign now, because if I become world champion on Sunday, figures won't matter. We have to renegotiate it. So I'm not going to sign any contracts today. We will speak about it once we finish the Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished third in the World. So as you can imagine, my phone is hopping, with proposals and new positions for contracts and everything else. And I'm trying to get Peugeot to come back and basically go back to the table and negotiate financial conditions. So Berlin was always too busy and couldn't find time. And one day he said to me, "Listen, Stephen, I've left you a contract at the secretary's office in Paris. Call by, I collect it, sign it, and that's it." So I said, okay. So I went down to the secretary, got the contract, and it was signed by himself. And he basically put on my contract with no financial gain in it.
Right.
So he hadn't increased my salary at all from the previous year. So I said to him, "Hold on, this is not good. I mean, we didn't speak about money because we were waiting for the Worlds." "Oh, it doesn't matter. It's all the same." No, it's not the same. So I said, "But maybe other teams can think they can exploit a third place in the Worlds, but I can't exploit it." "Well, you're the only one that thinks that. So either come to the table or I'm going to leave." So you can't leave. You've got a contract. As well, that's not going to keep me. So either come to the table, we talk, or I can't stay.
Yeah.
So in the end, I got legal advice, and as advised, there's no way this contract can be binding, because I hadn't signed it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a contract. There was conditions we had negotiated concerning a rent, giving me a car and these things. I signed those pages, but then where the financials were on it, he added the extra page on it where there was no signature on it.
Right.
So we tried doing a deal. So because I knew there was, we're in France here, we don't know what's going to happen. So I did a deal with La Redoute, because Maurice Dumer, who was with me in starting out from Peugeot, was now gone to La Redoute, and I wanted me to come there with and join him. So I said, "Maurice, I'll come, but there may be legal battle with Peugeot. If you undertake to finance and fight for me if there's a battle, then I will come." So I went to La Redoute, and I spent 2 years with La Redoute, and then at the same time fighting the legal issue with Peugeot, which for me wasn't really, shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So in the end, anyway, La Redoute decided they're stopping cycling, but my case was still hanging. So what do you do? So Carrera said, "Okay, Steve, we want to have you, but we don't want any legal battles. We want to have you clean." So they went to Peugeot and asked Peugeot, "Listen, we want to start this thing out with Stephen. So if we put Peugeot on our shorts for 2 years, the duration of the contract with Stephen, will you drop the proceedings?" So Peugeot just said, "Okay, we'll drop the proceedings." So I said, "Drop them if you want, but I'm continuing, because my honor is at stake here, and I don't want to be seen to be a guy that kind of just tore the contract up and walked away, So anyway, we rode with the Peugeot on the short for 2 years, and after about 2 years, I won the appeal with Peugeot, because I had all the documentation necessary to win it, and the guy there, Roland Berland, was basically in turn he was sacked from the team for doing this, plus other things. So but for me, my honor was restored personally, even though it wasn't publicized, in the media and everything else. It was publicized locally maybe, but I didn't do a big song and dance about it, because I didn't want to create confusion and here we go again, what's happening. People have forgotten about it,
Yeah.
So but I won it. But that's how we had. That's why we had. We were riding in Carrera with Bataclan bikes and Peugeot on the shorts.
So they did. I mean, they did pretty well out of you in retrospect. It turns out, because those are those iconic images of you in 1987. You've got Peugeot down the side of each thigh in white writing on your black bib shorts. So they at some point must have thought, like, Yeah, this could have gone worse. And I wonder what Battaglia are thinking. Are they going, this is just, people are thinking Roche is riding a Peugeot bike, because on the down tube it says Battaglia, and that's much smaller in the photos than Peugeot written down the side of your thigh.
Well, would you believe I only had one issue with this, which was when I went to Ireland, I had a contract with Peugeot Cycles. So Peugeot on the shorts, and I branded my Battaglia Peugeot. So of course Battaglia wasn't very happy, because I had put Peugeot on the Battaglia bike. But he was right. But no, Battaglia took it very well, because he had Battaglia on the jersey also. So it wasn't on the shorts, but there's no kind of obligation for a sponsor or for a team to have the bike supplier's name on the shorts.
Okay, so this is building up to your incredible year in 1987, but just before we come to that, at the end of 86, there's quite a bad crash, or a really bad crash, that you have in a 6-day race, which, as everyone will know, you come back from, because you ride in 87. But can you tell us a bit more about that crash? And do you think, in hindsight, the way it was dealt with by coaches or your team was the right one, or was that something, because I think it kind of plagued you, didn't it, for the rest of your career in one way or another, this knee injury?
The crash actually was in November 85 on the 6th day, and I'm with the late Tony Doyle, and we are fighting for the first place overall last night. And excuse me, sorry, Joe. We're back again. So we were fighting for first place, and the deal with Tony was we fight it out, and going into he misses a lap, misses a relay, say 5 minutes to the end, and I throw him in there in the last minute then for he can go and win the sprint and get the points. So this all worked very, very fine until I was throwing him in for his relay, and my back tire blew out. So doing 60k an hour, fixed wheel, and went right down the full length of the track, tumbling and bumping my knee off the ground and everything else. Anyway, they patched us all up and put us back on the bikes, and we ended up then losing the 6th day on for a few points. But because of the end of my season, I hung the bike up, but not knowing that there was maybe damage there. And when I finally got the bike out again, then at Christmas, I had pain in my knee. So I struggled with it for the first few months, rode a few races, but it wasn't great. And Carrera brought me to a big specialist in Italy, and he diagnosed me with a crushing of the cartilage. So he said we can operate it on through arthroscopy and get done with it. So he did the operation on me anyway. I had about 2 months out. I got back on the bike again, and I'm still in pain. So this is now, I do the season. I missed the Tour de France, but I do the season, and I'm not really, I have pain in my knee. So then I meet another doctor, a French doctor, and he operated on me for the ligaments. Said I had a problem with the ligaments. They're crossing like this, and they had some calcification there. So he operated on me then in November 86, and so I got back on the bike, and everything was going good. And we came out then. I did my season 87, but meantime, like I'd been 86, I'd been with Carrera. I had 0 victories in the season, and the boss were getting a little bit anxious, and they were coming to me saying, "Stephen, we're paying you good money, but I haven't got the results. So will you renegotiate your contract?" So I did a deal with them. I said, "Listen, like it's like when you get married, it's for better or for worse. So hopefully you've seen the worst." So what I suggest is that I'm willing to negotiate if we see 87 being a bad year. So give me until Easter. If by Easter there's no results, then I'll negotiate. But until then, it's business as usual. So that's what we did, and came back then, and I did my great beginning of the season in 87. So I had no more contract negotiations with them, and then I finished off 87 then, as I did. But unfortunately, though, at the end of 87, we had some events in Ireland, and I fell again on my knee. And because I fell on my knee, I kind of did more damage, and I woke up the injury. So I ended up then, finishing off my season with a knee that wasn't very, was still very, very painful, and having to have another operation then in the winter of '87.
Yeah, yeah. So at some point during the next however many years, you retired in 93? 93. Yeah. So was that just something that, did you ever feel like you bounced back basically from the end of that injury in '87, or are you always kind of fighting a tide from then on?
I think I probably got back in '92 because '88 was a washout, and I met Dr. Müller-Wölfer from Germany, from Bayern football team. I met him, very famous doctor, in the end of '88. And he fixed my knee up then through a long series of special massage, special treatment, and all kinds of stuff. So I got back on then, and I got back, but I never really was 100%. And possibly in '92, I was really going well again. I was back with Carrera again, and riding for Capucci, and I won the stage in La Bourboule. And it was basically then I decided, listen, finished. I can't get much better than this. I'm not going to win the Tour again. I'm back to a really good level. Like, I finished second in Holland. I was third in Saint-Gervais. And here I am now winning a stage. I'm up there in the top 10 again. So it's not going to get much better. So let's just kind of do one more year to wind down. But my head was gone. Like, I couldn't. I was finding it more and more difficult to come down the hills in the front. I was always kind of, thinking there's danger there, so to be careful. Whereas when this happens, you're automatically in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because when you're going down a hill and you just don't think about what might happen, you go down. You're fearless. But when you start thinking about, is there gravel on the outer kind of the corner? Is there water there? Does it turn very, very tight? Is the white line high? You start looking at these things, and you start losing time. So you got to make up time. So you're over your comfort zone, outside the comfort zone. So it made it very, very difficult, and that's why in '92 I decided, okay, listen, it's not. I've had a great career. I've been up and down. I'm back up now. I have no real injuries. So it's time to kind of call it a day.
So here's a mad idea. What if your insurance actually helped other riders get back on the road? That's the idea behind Laka, the bike insurance powered by its members, The Collective. Now, what that means is Laka doesn't charge a flat fee, but rather they add up the cost of the Collective's claims each month and divide it fairly across the community. So you only pay your fair share, though it's never more than a capped amount. Now, that money goes towards fixing bikes, replacing gear, and helping other cyclists get going again. And Laka is brilliantly different in loads of other ways too, because there's no excess on bike claims, there's no fixed annual contracts, you can pause, upgrade, cancel anytime, and Laka will even cover you for sportives and events. Each month you get a transparent statement showing exactly where your money goes, and best of all, claims are handled by people who know and love bikes. So find out for yourself by heading over to laka.co/cyclists. That's laka.co/cyclist, and use the code CyclistMag to get your first 30 days free. T's and C's apply. I reckon a while ago, the bike computer market looked all sewn up. There were two big players, end of. Kind of like how once upon a time group sets meant either Shimano or Campagnolo. So there's a wonderful synergy in the fact SRAM busted open the group set market back in 2006, and now SRAM's computer arm, Hammerhead, is blowing the doors off in the same way with the Hammerhead Karoo. My favorite thing about the Karoo is how much it's like a smartphone. So the touchscreen is really crisp and punchy. So data and mapping, which is way more like a phone's mapping than a classic bike GPS, by the way, those things are super clear. But unlike a phone, battery life is a huge 35 hours with GPS on and your ride recording. Plus, it's also way smaller. It's up there with the smallest head units given what it does. And it does loads, from predicting gradients in real time to making routes on the fly to running apps like Spotify, and it will even tell you how fast you're going. There's a whole lot more that we'll get into in other episodes, but for anyone who just needs things now, head over to cyclist.co.uk and search Hammerhead Karoo 3 to read our in-depth review and find out why we gave it our cyclist recommended badge of honour. Then head to hammerhead.io and use the promo code cyclist to get a free heart rate monitor with every purchase of a Karoo. Just make sure you put everything in the basket first before applying that promo code. Cyclist, promo code hammerhead.io is where you can find all the gear. That's the end of the career, but that amazing bit in the middle, that year of 1987, and you said, you're going into it where you're almost being told this could be a difficult season for you in terms of your contract because you haven't got those results from 86 because of this recurring injury from 85. You've shown so much promise in those early years at Peugeot, and you've got a team that does look like it is going to kind of support you. But then you still go into the Giro with kind of the worst situation a rider like you could be in, which is you're in an Italian team and you've got a defending Giro d'Italia team leader in Roberto Vicentini. Tell us what happens next, because that is not a situation that you would expect an Irishman to be winning in. And more to the point, that also calls back to some things you said earlier in this conversation, which is team cars coming up to you, tapping you on the shoulder and saying, this is not what we do, because this is not going to be the front page of La Gazzetta if Irish Stephen Roche is in the Maglia-Rosa.
Well, that's, exactly what I can say. Like, this particular episode repeated itself on several times during my career. But I had kind of started off 87, won the Tour de Valencia, I had, second in Paris-Nice, almost winning it, except for a puncture. I'd won 2 stages, Great Liège, Bastogne-Liège. Went on then and I won Tour of Romandy and won 2 or 3 stages in Tour of Romandy. And from there, straight to the Giro. So I always knew Roberto was going to be the leader, because he'd made his proof by winning the Giro in 86. Mm-hmm. So we knew he was a good, he could manage the 3 weeks, whereas for myself, we didn't really know. So I accepted to go along with it, but I was going to be like a co-leader and let the road decide who was going to be the real leader.
Uh-huh.
So in the prologue, I broke my toe strap. I had we hadn't got the automatic pedals at the time, so I broke my toe straps. Didn't do a great prologue, but then I got away on a break, I think, on the first day. So I took some time back from Vicentini, for example, and then we went out then, and I won the time trial on descent of the Peugeot, and then we went on then to the team time trial, and we won the team time trial. So because we won the team time trial, and because I'd won the descent of the Peugeot, I was better placed than Roberto. So automatically I got the pink jersey. But I never felt for 1 second that there was any kind of any doubt or mistrust there. I felt this is great. It's in the team. The team have it. So, but then I noticed very quickly that Roberto was never really too far behind me. But it didn't bother me either, because I felt, well, while he's behind me, I know where he is. So whereas if I had been in his shoes, I'd be trying to get up the road and use the excuse that my teammates behind me, So, but he didn't. He was always watching me and always never leaving my wheel. So we took it as it went. And then I remember after about a week or so, there was a big fall, say 1.5 kilometers from the finish. And in those days, the time was stopped in the final kilometer, but we're outside the kilometer sign. So I always remember I'm on the ground looking up, and Roberto was basically riding around me, going away. didn't even, look and ask me, are you okay? Or should I wait for you?
Wow.
So there was no love lost. So that was okay. But then we went down to the first big time trial in Saint-Vincent, yeah. And it was raining. So I went out, did my recce for the time trial. Roberto went in the car. And every few kilometers, he'd say to me, Stephen, which way is the wind coming from? Stephen, is the rain cold? Stephen, what gear are you riding? And like, I'm in my bubble, so I don't need this interference from anybody.
Yeah.
So I finished off my recce, went in for my get changed, and I'm in my bubble at this time. So I come down for my lunch in my bubble again, sit down. Who's sitting across from me? Roberto. So once again, Stephen, the first kilometer, which gear did you use? Stephen, where was the wind blowing after 5K? All this kind of stuff. So I'm just totally draining myself because I'm normally in my bubble, concentrating, where am I doing? Where am I going? Where can I lose time? Where can I gain time and everything else? And here's this guy just kind of giving me all this kind of sapping up all my energy.
Yeah.
So when I went on the start line, I very quickly realized that this wasn't going to be my day, that it was going to be a very, very long day. And in the finish, the time reflected that, because Roberto, I think, put 2 minutes into me on the time trial and took over the pink jersey. So what was very, disappointing for me was that I'd held the jersey for, like, at this stage, by 10 days maybe. So I'd become a star, getting used to the attention of the finish line and everything else. And here I arrive, and I'm kind of wiggling my way through the spectators to get to the finish, to get to my masseur to give me a towel. Nobody's giving me any kind of soft drinks, or nobody's kind of saying, "Oh, Steve, what happened? I'm very sorry for you." And I felt really bad, because I felt I'd achieved something, and here I am now once again anonymous, So anyway, I go back to my hotel, and I'm watching television, and I see Roberto on the television, and we see him doing an interview, and the journalist says to him, well, at least now in Carrera, everything is clear. Roche will ride for you now in the Giro, and you will go with him on the tour, and you will ride for him. So straight away, Roberto answered back. I said, yeah, that's right. Roche now will ride for me. I'm the unique leader of the Carrera team for the Giro, but I'm not going to the tour because I'm going on holidays. So I said, okay, that's, at least he's being honest about it,
Yeah.
So myself and Eddy Shippers, we took out the road book. I said, okay, what's coming up on the next few days? And then we said, okay, well, in 2 days' time there will be a big mountain stage. So calculating, like, Roberto did a time trial today. He must have buried himself in that time trial to do the results he got. So going on that basis, he buried himself today because he sees tomorrow as like a transition stage. And he'd be hoping for this transition stage because the following stage is a mountain stage.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, okay, what if we created a scenario in this transition stage and destabilized him, because he's very, very easy to, he was very, he wasn't very mentally strong.
Yeah.
So we knew if we made him create a bit of panic, then he might, it might crack. So the following stage was a stage arriving up into a Sapada. It wasn't a mountain stage, but there was 3 or 4 climbs on the way. And so I couldn't really attack. I couldn't be seen to be attacking. So how am I going to get away? So there was, going over the second last climb, there was 3 or 4 guys ahead, a minute or so ahead. And I said to Eddy, bring me to the front and we'll go over the top and see what happens. Like, for me, going fast down a descent is not attacking if they can't follow me. So we basically went over the top. Eddy pulled over. I went straight down, and I in a career sometimes you do some things that are just incredible, and you don't know how if you can repeat it, but just things just kind of the bike is like it's emotion. It's everything goes well for you, and this day everything went so well for me. I made it. The descent was incredible. And by the time I got to the bottom, I had joined the 4 guys in the front, but there was nobody with me, which, of course, what I wanted to achieve, but I didn't want to be seen to be attacking. So basically, I said, I didn't attack. I just went faster than them down the hill.
Yeah.
So that's, that was my argument. But anyway, I'm riding with these guys in the front, and look, what's going to happen now? With them, kind of a bit suicidal because there's still one more climb to finish. There's 40k to go on the flat. These guys behind are going to chase me, and I'll have nothing left on the final climb. So I'm going to ask myself what's going to happen now. So the car came up, similar, kind of familiar scenario. Stephen, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, well, I'm defending Roberto's jersey. What do you mean? Will me in front, the Panasonics for Miller or Brooking or Bianchi for Argentine, they haven't got to ride. So I'm, tell Roberto to take it easy. So Stephen, you don't understand. You went down that descent so quickly. There's the biggest group is 10. There's groups of 5 and 2s and 10. They're everywhere. You destroyed everybody on the descent. Well, that's great. Wait a few minutes and the others will ride. No, you don't understand. Roberto was panicking. He's riding, and he's getting all the riders to ride. Oh, that's a bit much, So I said, well, you just tell Roberto that he either stops riding and waits for the others to ride, or else, it's going to be wars declared. So I was told to stop. I said, no, finish, basta. So we went on anyway, and Roberto caught me on the final climb, and the car said to my friend Eddy Skippers to wait for Roberto. So Eddy said, Stephen, I can wait for him, or I can stay with you. If I stay with you, I'll probably be sacked. So if you agree to fight for me and to make sure I don't lose my job, then I'll stay with you. So I said, Eddy, just don't worry, just give it everything you have. So he paced me over the top of the climb. I went ahead towards the final kilometer or two, and I basically almost got back onto the breakaway group at the time, made up of Rominger and one or two other top guys. And I think I held the jersey for like 2 or 3 seconds from Rominger, I think. And Roberto lost 5 minutes. So I'm back in pink, but Roberto, then he finishes on the finish line. He points up to me on the podium, and he says, "Tonight, somebody's going home."
Wow.
So then I was escorted off the podium by the police because the fans wanted to kill me. They were all saying Roche Bastardo, Roche by Casa. So it was very, very difficult and very hostile for the following 2 or 3 days.
Man, how did you kind of deal with that? Because the next stage 16, kind of become folkloric, known as the Marmalada Massacre, as you go over lots of big climbs. That's the Queen stage, and you've only got at that point. You've called him out there, Eddy Sheppers, your Belgian domestique teammate. And then you've also got Robert Miller. He's riding on Panasonic, but you know him from crossing paths, different teams over the years. And he's also a fellow, Anglophile in a way. And they're your guys, and that's it. You've only got 2 blokes riding for you, and one's not even your actual teammate. What happens in that stage? Because that was a brutal stage. And how did you come through that? Because again, the odds are hugely stacked against you, never mind the stuff they must have been shouting at you from the road to try and put you off and everything else going on.
Well, we had like the police motorbikes had to ride in front of us, but very close to us with their feet out, on the side, keeping the fans back,
really pushing the fans away.
They all wanted to punch me, and as Eddy Sheppers points out in 1 or 2 of his interviews, he says, like, in the Giro there's only one pink jersey. It isn't like where is he? There's one pink jersey, so we go for the pink jersey. So they would take rice in their mouths, and as I arrived, a bit of red wine, and spit it at me as I was coming up, So and it trying to punch in at me. But I remember one stage. Then we were Roberto was riding on the left and riding on the right, and there's a line of riders behind us. Those were totally ridiculous, And then going over the top, then he brings me over to the side of the cliff and trying to push me over the side of the cliff. So I put my hand on his handlebars and say, Roberto, if I go, you're going, So it was quite hostile, And the fans, of course, on the finish line, I was very quickly taken away every day after the finish line to the podium, and then from the podium then to the media center, and from there then to my hotel. and I had my masseur would make my food for me because they were afraid that the Italians might try and poison me. And my mechanic looked after my bike exclusively because they were afraid that somebody might sabotage my bike. So it became a very, very small committee, But all I can say was, as I was saying, like, say what you want, do what you want. I'm going to Milan to the finish. So, I was kind of quite adamant. Didn't matter what they did, I was hanging on to the finish. But it was one thing saying it, but it was another thing maintaining my promise because it got very, very hostile. Very lonely, very lonely.
What was it like? I was going to say, so because normally, you associate scenes of winning, whether it's on the Champs-Élysées or in Milan, those moments as being the crescendo for a bike racer's career and for that year's Grand Tour, whichever one it is. And it just looks amazing and everyone's super happy, except for, maybe second or third place. But the guy that's won, that's the moment where you can get that release and that relief and that exuberance. But I'm assuming that you're on a podium in Milan and you're not really getting cheered. It's not the reception you would be wanting. Do you then feel like you have to kind of just get out of Dodge, just leave, take your trophy and your jerseys and leave the team, leave the checks on the table for the rest of the team and just get out because you're kind of a bit of a wanted man?
Well, that's exactly the way it happened. Like the team came a little bit more, let's say, relaxed towards the end because they knew there were so many mountain stages towards the end, they couldn't help me anyway. So of course they became, what can I do, knowing they can't do very much for me. So, I managed to with the few friends around and make the most of the other guys. That was Van der Velde that was going for the mountains classification, for example. It was in his interest and his team's interest to keep things together. So I piggybacked a little bit on who I could, and then Eddie Shepherd, of course, did an incredible job for me, making tempos on the climbs. And of course, Roberto Vicentini was there also right up to the very, very end, So he always had one or two riders with him also. So he also felt that towards the end he might be able to pull her off. So even though they weren't riding for me, there were still some bodies in the peloton that could help me. But of course, when I won the time trial then in San Marino the last day, some friends of mine had come down from Paris to encourage me on for the last day, and I basically put my trophy, my bags in the back of their car, and we drove all the way back to Paris, and we had some champagne and cakes back in Paris at 6 a.m. in the following morning. But I wasn't too keen to stay in Italy much longer than I had to.
And then taking that experience. Not much longer later in July, lining up on the start line for the Tour de France. And are you thinking, do you know what, I think this is also going to be my race?
Well, for me, it was going into the Tour was like, okay, guys, I've won my Tour. So for me, I was going to be able to use it as a kind of an argument to only ride when I have to really ride. So I wasn't going to just go on the front and ride and chase down anybody, because my attitude was, you guys want to win your Grand Tour this year. Well, okay, you gotta ride, because in those days the Vuelta was in April, the Giro was in May, and the Tour in July. So if anybody hadn't performed in the Vuelta or in the Giro, they kind of had to perform in the Tour. So I'm kind of sitting there on myself saying to myself, well, okay, you guys want to save your season, save your Grand Tour season. Well, you guys must ride, So I only kind of really rode or made my team ride when I really felt that this is it. This is do or die. We have to do it. But I wasn't going to put them on the front every day, especially because the race was like 4,000 to 4,500 kilometers. So, which is one of the longest tours in a long, long time, So I knew that it was 3.5 weeks long. So if I was going to have any chance of pulling it off, well, then I can't start riding from the first week. But, I went into it with the idea, wait and see, anything can happen. I was quite confident that the time trial was 100 140 kilometers, I think, in time trials. There was the long time trial in Futuroscope of 87 or 88 kilometers. There was a time trial in Dijon, 40 kilometers. Then there was time trial of Ventoux, which is another 35 kilometers or so, plus the prologue. So all in all, there would have been 130 kilometers or so of time trialing, which was my not my domain, but I knew that I was as good as any of the Tour contenders in the time trialing. So I basically planned my tour around the time trials, and also because I knew that I hadn't got a great team for the mountains, and when you're riding with Delgado, Jean-François Bernard, Charlie Motte, Lucia, when you're riding with these guys in the mountains, well, you have to be very, very careful. You can't just kind of shoot off, or these guys, I'm not going to drop them, but they can drop me and put a lot of time into me very, very easily. So I had to kind of play very, very, very fine, and just make sure that on the mountains I didn't lose too much time.
As you say, you had some really big riders, great climbers of their generation, Pedro Delgado, and the guys from Colombians breaking in and being these incredible mountain ascenders. And yet, I think, and again, this also will sound strange, but in the context of the 1987 Tour, as you say, one of the longest, but also still the longest in terms of the number of stages, because you had 2 stages in a day on a couple of occasions, so 25 stages in all. So this is stage 21 that was your pivotal one, which normally we'd think of as the last stage. But stage 21 is going up the Madeleine and La Plagne. And that's your pivotal moment, I think, race historians will say. Do you see that stage as that's when the moment happened? That's when you were turned on to thinking, I'm going to take this into Paris. And what happened in stage 21 to make that so?
This thing went back as far as the time trial on Mont Ventoux. This is where it's there's behind the scenes stuff that went on that wouldn't have shown out in the media. For example, Jean-François Bernard wins the time trial. He did a scorching time trial. Like he rode a normal bike up to the foot of the Tourmalet, changed bikes very intelligently, and rode the Tourmalet. Did a scorching time and put all his main tour rivals at 2 and 3 minutes. So Jeff gets on television and tells everybody how delighted he was to have won the stage, and how confident he is now to win the full tour, because there's still a time trial in Dijon. So he doesn't feel any worries at all with anybody. So I'm kind of taking the helicopter back down to the valley to our hotel. I'm with Charlie Motte, and Charlie says to me, asked me, what do you think of the stage today? So I said, well, I think Jeff made a mistake. That there was he read on the board Paris, where in fact it's marked Mont Ventoux. Like Jeff was giving his speech as if he's already in Paris, where there's still so many stages to go. So and Charlie said, listen, Steph, I know the area very well tomorrow, and if you look at it very, very closely, you have the feeding stations, a very, very small road. It's kind of an uphill, kind of undulating road. If something happens there tomorrow, it'll be could be chaos. So I went online then. Online myself, my teammates with Eddy, we looked up the maps, because we had no Google in those days, of course. So you had to take out the ordnance survey maps, see where we're
Big
going.
Paper maps.
Exactly. See the width of the road and the gradients and everything else. And then we decided this could be a real doer. So we decided what we do was we fake the feeding station. So we would all make everybody feel, well, we're going to the feeding station, no problem. Where in fact our plan was to go straight through, accelerate as we go through, and just go fast and fast and faster to create as much chaos as we can, in the hope that Jean-François Bernard and Delgado and other guys might get caught behind in traffic. So to do this, we had to our soigneurs went to the feeding station, but they had the musettes like normal, but there were only stones in the musettes, so that nobody would think for a second there's something wrong. So the masseurs went there with their feed bags full of stones so that people thought there was food in them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, in those days,
Wow.
the rider could not get food from the car because it was illegal. So we had to get the bottles, feeding bottles, cut them in halves, put the food solid in the feeding bottle, tape it up, and put it in the car. And then when we needed it, then we'd go back to the car and get a water bottle, which in actual fact is a food bottle, open her up, take our food out, and feed ourselves. So, but we came to this feeding station anyway, and speed got faster and faster and faster. So it was quite obvious there was other teams that had the same or similar tactic strategy. So we hit the front in the feeding station and just put a foot down. And Jeff, of course, he was lingering a little bit behind. In the panic, he dropped his chain because the gradient necessitated changing the big ring, small ring. He lost his chain. So again, he got back on again. There's so many guys that gone past him again, so he lost a bit of time. And but in front there was all the top leaders were on the front, and there's an incredible atmosphere in the front because everybody had kind of thought, okay, Jeff, I won't say making a statement, but we're saying, okay, Jeff, yes, you thought the tour was finished, but a bit of respect for us guys, we still had to there's still a fight to be won.
Yeah.
So we just rode like hell to the finish, and I got away in the finish then with Delgado. And that day he could have won the tour that day, because you might remember maybe a very, very, very famous photograph of Graham Watson or some video footage where you see myself and himself kind of like this side by side. Kind of the movement was very very similar, and I'm riding on his bottom bracket, and I'm thinking, I got to ride here because by riding here he sees me, he won't accelerate, but if he doesn't see me, he might accelerate and I can't go with him. So I was kind of bluffing a lot, and in the end anyway got over the top and he won the stage, but I got the jersey. So but with all of that in mind, then the next day was the Alpe d'Huez, and I knew Alpe d'Huez was never going to be my great climb. So I knew that Delgado was my main rival now for winning the tour, and I knew that the final time trial was Dijon. So for me to be able to maintain my ambition to win the tour, I had to be within 1 minute of Delgado for the final day, because I knew that I could with 40k I could put a minute into him on the time trial. So and Alpe d'Huez was the worst climb for me. So I kept Delgado like at a striking distance, and I rode at my own rhythm, and I think I finished something around 45 seconds or a minute or so behind Delgado, which left me. Delgado was probably leading me by a minute or so on GC. So my tour was still open. So then we had the stage then to La Plagne, and this was the major stage. So going over the Galibier in the morning, the Colombians were having a feast day. They were attacking. So we were struggling, So we had a talk between us, and we're saying, Leo, let's make the descent flat out and try and get rid of the Colombians, because otherwise we're going to hit the Madeleine, and they're going to attack us again. So when we got down to the bottom of the Galibier or Telegraph, Delgado had no teammates with him, and there was a few guys attacking. So I thought, okay, maybe what if I can get away with one of these small groups? Delgado's on his own, so again his team come back on. Maybe I can have I can get a bit of time ahead. So I did this anyway. Got across, and I was a bit suicidal once again. And because when I went away with the group, they weren't strong enough to really help me. So I rode my best over La Plagne, over Madeleine, but the Delgado's team all came together and they caught me on the foot of La Plagne. So like I knew that he's going to attack me straight away. So what do I do? Do I go with him? What do I do? So I thought, okay, well, let him go, let him think I'm dead, and then see what happens. So I let him go 20, 30, 40 seconds, a minute and 10. Then I thought, oh, it's getting a bit out of hand here now. If I don't react straight away, he's going to finish over a minute ahead of me, and my tour's chance are gone. So then I thought, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll accelerate a small bit once I recovered and see what happens. So I gently accelerated. I realized he wasn't taking any more time out of me. So I thought, okay, well, maybe he's either happy he's put a minute and a half into me, or maybe he just can't go any faster. So I'll try and hold him out of 5 to go. And once I get to hit 5K, I'll give it everything I have. And there's no radios, of course. There was no way of getting time checks because there was so many people. And with 5K to go, I gave it everything. And to my great surprise, I came back and finished like 4 seconds behind him. I just came around the final corner and there he was. So I did.
Wow. Was he just really surprised to see you?
Yeah, and like what we say about the race radios changing the changing the race. Like if I had a race radio, I may have backed off, thinking, okay, we're in 20 seconds or 30 seconds. I can back off a little bit. Where in fact I didn't know where I was. So all I knew was that once I crossed the line, the stopwatch would stop, and my tour could be won or lost. So I basically buried myself to the finish, and of course, all the journalists were all basically, nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew where I was. So they all thought that, okay, well, Delgado has won the tour. So then, of course, the famous words of Phil Liggett, then it's Roche, looks like Roche. The journalists then started running towards me, and I bet I couldn't answer because I was just totally wasted, and I collapsed on the floor, and I was in a bad way for a few minutes. So, but I saved my tour.
And then you went into the final TT, and you managed to overturn that gap. As you say, you knew that you could put a minute into Delgado in a TT, which you duly did. You did a minute and a second, and ended up winning the Tour de France by a really tight margin. 40 seconds, which is just incredible scenes. And I guess, did you talk to Delgado during those end stages or afterwards? How did he feel? Because he must have felt so surprised by that outcome. Just that moment on stage 21 where he suddenly realizes you're over his shoulder, but then to see his tour slip away within a handful of stages.
Yeah, I think that after the stage, the doctors, treated me and they gave me the okay to go back to my room. So I went back to my room and I had a bit of sleep. And then at 7 o'clock or so, my masseur came in and said, "Stephen, what do you want for dinner? I'll bring it up to you." So I said, no, I'm going down for dinner, because in those days we all ate in a canteen. There was no kind of private kitchens or team kitchens. It was we all 3 or 4 teams all ate together. And in the mountains, of course, there's not many options. So there are 2 or 3 big hotels, and that's where all the big teams stay. So I said, okay, well, I'll come. I'm going down for my dinner. So rather than go down the lift, I went down the stairs and got to the bottom of the stairs. And I said to my masseur, "I think it's going to be okay." So I walked into the canteen then, and everybody's looking at me and congratulating me, saying, "Stephen, well done, Stephen. Well done. You had a great stage today. It was an amazing finish. A pity tomorrow there's still climbs, because I don't know how you're going to recover." So I'm saying, "Yeah, I know, thanks very much, really appreciate it," and whatever, And my plan at the time was that the following day there was a stage into Morzine, and my plan was to try and attack Delgado on the Juplan, because I'm thinking, okay, well, if I have Delgado thinks like this, he thinks, okay, well, Roche came back at me today in the finish. He came back to 4 seconds. He fell off his bike at the finish. He was taken to the hospital. He comes back. Next day, he puts 1 second into me on the Juplan and into Morzine. This guy is unbelievable. So my plan was to kind of destabilize him before hitting the time trial in Dijon 2 days later. So that's always my strategy, was to make him feel that I was kind of invincible, and that one day I'm taking away in an ambulance, and the next day I'm beating him in the mountain stage. And the very next day I put 18 seconds into Morzine, where for me was basically nailing the coffin, because for me my work was done then. All I had to do then was put on a good performance then in the time trial, because he'd be thinking, this guy, he's how am I going to beat this guy? He's a better time trialist than I am, and he's getting stronger as we go along. So I played a lot on his morale, and that's how it worked out.
So does that mean that going into the World Championships road race in Austria a couple of months later, did the riders feel that same sense of invincibility around you? Was that something you could turn to your advantage, or is it just a complete lottery of a race where you just don't know what's going to happen?
Well, in a way, I always say the Worlds are a bit of a lottery, but depending on the circuit, But for me, that year, I really went to the Worlds. We had a few criteriums in Dublin before going to the Worlds, and that's where the Irish team, Martin Earley, Paul Kimmage, Sean Kelly, that's where we all kind of basically came closer together as a team. And when we went to the Worlds, my main role was to work for Sean, because we'd heard so much about this circuit that it was a sprinter circuit. So no point in me even thinking I can do well, because it's a sprinter circuit. So it was only when I got there that I realized, wow, this may be a sprinter circuit if we were only doing it once, but we're doing it like 18 or 19 times. So I'm saying there's 2 climbs every circuit. So it's not going to be a pure sprinter that's going to win it. So only from that moment I started to believe that this could be for me, because I thought after so many laps, I'm kind of an all-rounder, so it could be my day. And also I thought that because I won the Giro and the Tour already, everybody was kind of saying, well, Stephen's won the Giro, won the Tour, he's going to be tired, so nobody's going to be watching me. I had no real pressure from anybody. I really only got in my own mind that I could win it, like the day before, 2 days before. But the only factor that was going against me was the weather. It was extremely hot. So I was very, very tired after my season. And if the weather was going to be like this hot, then it was going to make things very difficult for me. And in fact, the morning of the World Championships, it rained and it was very, very cold. So it was as if kind of the Irish gods had descended on me and given me the weather, the ideal weather that would suit me. And but all day of the Worlds that year, I rode my eyeballs out for Sean, and it was only in the final few laps then that I really kind of, I keeping together, bringing Sean into the breakaway group, and then getting away myself at the end, and literally not knowing what to do, because when I found myself in the final 2 kilometers with Ralph Golds, Ralph Sorensen, and these guys who are all much faster than me, I'm telling and damn it, here I am after riding the whole day for Sean. I'm going to finish kind of 5th out of 5, So that's not what it's all about. So had to kind of think very, very quickly. How can I change this situation? So I just saw an opportunity when they came around the final left-hand turn, as they were closing into the barriers. I thought, okay, I've got one guy on my wheel. If I go on the right, he's going to follow me and beat me. So I got to go on the left so that I'm going to, the gap will get closer and then he won't get through, and I might get 10 meters and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it happened. I got my few meters. He braked last minute before going through the gap. And I used to always remember the saying from Ayrton Senna, the Formula One driver. He used to say, when the day you start thinking about not going through the gap, your career is over. And I was always one for going through the gaps. So anyway, that day it worked out very well for me, and I succeeded then in sprinting and holding off the group and the peloton then to the line.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, totally amazing. And obviously now we have a 3rd Triple Crown winner in Pogačar last season, but up until that point, just had Eddy Merckx in 1972 and you in 1987. So 25, 26 years, nothing, this hasn't happened before. As you start to see last season unfold for Pogačar, is there a point where you run into Eddy Merckx at anything, or you just drop him a text, or he texts you, and then you kind of go, do you think this guy's going to do it? Is he going to add himself to our club?
No, we joked about it kind of individually at different times. The fact that, okay, if he wants to, if he's going to join the club, at least, he's not a bad guy. I mean, he's a good guy personally, and he's putting in the results as well. So having him as in our team, in our elite team, is not bad, So and we kind of, but you couldn't really say, until the last minute really what was going to happen or if he was going to do it, because even though the odds were on that he could do it because the circuit suited him as well. World Championships could be a bit of lottery as well. A bad fall, punctured the wrong time. Everything can be, you can be knocked out very easy. So, but it was kind of, it was kind of written on the wall that he was going to have more than likely going to be. Either way, if it wasn't in 2024, well, then maybe in the years to come, he will be the one to join us.
Tell me what it's going to be like to go back to La Plana after all these years. You said you went back in 2017 to ride those same roads, but you're going back again this year as part of Cure Leukaemia's Tour 21 fundraising series. So are you going to be riding the full stages 16 to stage 19? And what are those memories going to come flooding back when you start up the slopes of the Plana? Do you still think about those days? Can you still recall them in a way where they look real to you, or is it just a distant memory now that people like me try and remind you about?
No, they are still very, very prominent in my mind, And of course, when you go back there, you say, "Wow, I did this." I kind of say, "Wow, I didn't realize maybe what I achieved at the time," But no, I'm looking forward to going back this year with the group, and because it's we're all very fortunate to be able to have our health, and sometimes we don't really realize how thin that line is,
Mm-hmm.
So and I think that the leukemia, we all know somebody either in a family or a relative or whatever who has some form of cancer. And I've had I lost my sister 2 years ago to cancer. My son has had two. He had a blood leukemia twice.
Mm-hmm.
Each time he had to have a transplant. So I know that that there's huge shortage of funds. We may never find a cure for it, but at least we can make the life for these people a little more comfortable, and in the hope that there will be some cure down the road. But it's great to be able to kind of use the bike, because it's my hobby. Use the bike to be able to create awareness for leukemia, and also to generate some very necessary funds to help fund some of the operations that are ongoing. And it's great to have some nice comrades to ride along beside, and maybe make their journey a little special, and they'll be making my journey special as well, because like going back to La Plana on my own, there's no point. So going back with a group of 20, 25 riders, it's makes it much more enjoyable. If you can say enjoyable, like the plan being so long and so hard, plus the other climbs before, plus the other days around the Plana, they're all very hard days. So it'll be enjoyment, but kind of a painful enjoyment.
I was going to say, does it sort of come back, the muscle memory, into your legs? And I'm thinking of stage 18 as well, which if people haven't seen the tour route this year, that's the Queen stage. That's 5,500 meters of climbing over 170 odd kilometers. At that point, when you've been going for 20, 30 minutes, do you sort of feel like, I've got this because it's just in my legs somewhere? Or is it just as hard as it is for the rest of us now?
I think that, with time, your muscles have a beginning of Alzheimer's, because the muscle memory is there, okay, but there's no magic, there's no magic portion, there's no magic there. You can put the miles in, put the training in, and you can get a reasonable amount of fitness. Of course, as age goes on, the odds are going against you, but I must say I'm very happy that when I do get a bit of training done, I do have a reasonably good condition does come back. But reasonably good condition to go out and ride with some friends around the Côte d'Azur or go around the hills of Surrey or whatever, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But riding La Plagne and the Galibier and Madeleine and all these kind of monuments in the Alps, you need little extra for this kind of terrain, and which means an awful lot more training and losing weight and everything else. So I'm looking forward to it as a challenge, and I'm quite adamant that I'm going to get over it. I'll probably not be where I would like to have been because I've lost a lot of time over the last few weeks. But nevertheless, we speak to anybody that's a bike rider, we'll always have some kind of excuse as to why I could have, but couldn't, or should have, or didn't, but might have. We always have some kind of excuse to account for our lack of performance. But no, I think we ex-pros maybe have a certain amount of muscle memory, I agree. But, doing this kind of terrain is not sufficient, unfortunately. That's the sad side.
Well, Stephen, on that note, sounds like get out there, get some more miles under your belt, but I'd back you 100% to be able to just do this now. So thank you so much for coming on the Cyclist Magazine podcast. It was really great to chat to you. And yeah, best of luck with cure leukemia and Tour 21. And let's everyone keep their eyes peeled on that. And there'll be links to sign up in our show notes, how you can get involved. I think there's still places. So go and ride with Stephen and take on some of the most amazing climbs in the Alps this year. Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to promise you two things by the end of this advert. You're going to know how to sleep better and what Fabian Cancellara wears in bed. Now, I've done a lot of research into sleep for Cyclist Magazine, and all the experts I've ever talked to all agreed on two things. Good sleep is linked to better health, better recovery and better performance, and yet the average person undersleeps by 54 minutes a night, which is the equivalent to losing almost a whole night's sleep per week. So it's no wonder sleep has been such a huge area for gains in cycling. Everyone remembers Team Sky bringing their personal pillows and sheets to the Tour de France, I think. So that's why Tudor Pro Cycling has teamed up with Swiss sleepwear specialists Dagsmian, whose revolutionary fabrics help promote better sleep. So for hot weather or hot sleepers, there's Dagsmian's Stay Cool sleepwear, which claims to be 60% more breathable than cotton and dries in a third of the time. Then for the performance obsessed, there's Dagsmian's Recovery, whose Nat Recover fabric claims to enhance muscle regeneration by recycling excess body heat into infrared energy. It's similar to the therapeutic effects of sunlight on muscles. So it's clever stuff. And as well as Tudor Pro Cycling's Julian Alaphilippe and Mark Hershey being decked out in Dagsmian sleepwear, it's of course the pyjama choice of team owner Fabian Cancellara too. So head on over to dagmejan.co.uk. That's DAGSMEJAN.co.uk to find out more, and use the code CYCLIST15 at the checkout to get 15% off. Stephen Roche, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Stephen. I don't know if you could detect it in there. There were quite a lot of technical issues in there, which we managed to overcome. But I think there was a point where we both nearly pulled our hair out when the dog started barking. So there we go. That's the magic of television. And that was Stephen Roche. And now back to Will Strickson, who is going to tell us some more about the Tour de France, because today is Thursday. It could be Thursday morning. It could be Thursday afternoon. I don't know when you're watching this or listening to this. Could be Friday. It could even be in 2027.
That's true.
Who knows? Because this will be around forever until the barges that hold the servers are sunk. Anyway, so Will, what's going to happen in the next couple of days at Le Tour, Le Grand Boucle?
Who do you reckon holds the rights for the commentary? Do you reckon it's ASO? Because I think if you should have done the intro for Stephen Roche with that bit of commentary when he's coming out of the mist or whatever it was.
Get with Pedro Delgado. Yeah.
That would have been good.
It's Roche.
Do you know also what I thought,
James?
One. If we find out who owns the rights to the ITV Tour de France theme song.
I love that song.
Yeah. Because obviously they're not going to be using it. TNT aren't going to be using it.
We could have
it and make it the podcast theme tune.
Right. Well, I'm going to go away and make that happen today before this airs and somebody else hears you saying that and we haven't got the jump on it. It's really hard to whistle, isn't it? I find it's a lovely song, and then I try and sing it and I go, and it just, I don't know, it just sounds like the beginning of bam, 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 that Bowie song.
Yeah, I think it's because it's way more complicated than it first appears. Great piece of music.
I think it's an amazing tune.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic piece of music. Do you think it was written purposely, specifically, or do you think it's library music?
I think that a publication called Cycling Weekly tracked down the person who made it this week. And I think that's a hint for you.
Wow. I believe that our theme tune, I know it to be library music, but I believe it's made in part by Andy C from Ugly Duckling.
Really? You got it confirmed?
Which is a hip hop act, which you may have heard of, Will. A Little Bit of Samba was a famous song. You don't know who they are, do you?
I feel like I've heard of Andy C, not Ugly Duckling.
Not Andy C, the drum bass DJ.
Oh, it's not that one then.
No. Anyway, go on. Tell us about Tour de France.
Okay, so Thursday today. There's a few. It's a lot of categorized climbs, but they're lower down the ladder, let's say, and it finishes with a bit of an uphill. It's a punch. It's 10%. So it's gonna not be the sprinters. It's gonna be Pogačar, Van der Poel, if they can be asked. Maybe a Thibaut Nace, maybe a Oscar Onley. Let's get him out there. Kelso's own. But it might be someone else. Vingegaard's looking good on the punches. Friday, it's another punchy one. It's the Mur de Bretagne. Last man who won there, it's called Mathieu Van der Poel, and he went into the yellow jersey. Could he get it back? Probably not. Depends on the time trial goes.
Don't know.
But that is going to be honouring your man, the Badger, Bernard Hinault, because Brittany and that.
Le Badger.
Yeah. The next day will be honouring Louison Bobet, because it's 100 years since he was born. First rider to win the Tour on 3 consecutive occasions, start in his hometown. But it would be sprint, but it's false flat. So I would say it's probably not going to be Jonathan Milan. It'll be Malia or Gamay or someone else, or maybe it'll be Milan, and I'll be wrong.
Gobinium, that's what I say.
Yeah, I think so too. And Sunday will be flat. It's the Mark Cavendish stage in Châteauroux. He's going to come out of retirement, win that one.
I get, yeah.
But it'll be Jonathan Milan. Monday is not a rest day because it's Bastille Day. So we've got a stage on Monday through the Massif Central mountain stage. Not surprisingly, despite it being in the Massif Central, they're not massive mountains. They're category 2, category 3, but there's a lot of them. So it adds up to very James Spender 4,400 meters of elevation over 163k. You could have done that. I think
race was harder.
This could be the kind of stage where they let the breakaway go, let them take yellow, put your feet back. There'll be second week, the mountains start on Thursday with Otakam, and that'll all go back to normal.
The high camera.
Yeah, that one.
Lovely. Well, there we go. So effectively what you're saying is don't bother tuning in until the middle of the next week.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah,
watch
Thursday.
The last kilometre of all the other
stages. Do you ever feel that about the Tour de France? That it's exciting. It's like the build-up, the anticipation. It's like the World Cup. The anticipation is immense.
Yeah.
And then the theme music starts up, which we both realise we can't whistle or hum. And then the montage from last year comes along and blah, blah, blah. And then you get into the racing. And after, whoa, what's going to happen like day one? Then it just becomes kind of inconsequential as you wait for the right people to get in the right position to actually start duking it out in the mountains for GC. Yeah. Which is that's just I'm not criticising it. I mean, I sound like I am. It just dawns on me every year that I'm kind of not as interested as I think I'm going to be for about the first 10 days.
I think that's Neb Bolsing agrees with you.
Oh, does he? Well, that's good. I was going to say that speaks to how much Philistine I am.
His favourite part of the tour is just before it starts.
Yeah. My favourite part of anything is just before it starts. Go on, tell me a thing.
Tears just before it starts. Great moment.
Tears. A sneeze.
Oh, the build-up.
The build-up just before a sneeze. My goodness. That is fantastic.
trailers of a movie can't be enjoying that too much.
Yeah, exactly. Trailers of a movie always infinitely better than the movies themselves. They make even bad movies look good.
Oh, so you mean not the movie you're going to watch, but the movie that they're trailing?
I mean, invariably the movie I'm going to watch, if I manage to get to the cinema at all these days, which I don't because I have a child and I'd love to go more, and I do like going on my own. I recommend it to anybody. But yes, invariably the films that you watch at the cinema are poopy pants, aren't they? Cinema films. The new films are shite.
The last
old films are great, Jack.
Last film I saw at the cinema was really good.
What was it?
A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan, Timothée Chalamet job.
That was actually quite good, and I did actually see that at the cinema. And we sat near this woman who just like kind of commented on like loads of scenes. And there's a scene where he goes into a party in like a New York apartment, and there's Joan Baez is there and loads of other people, and they want him to play his guitar, and he's just like not having any of it. And then she's just there being like, "That's an overwhelming amount of people. You don't want to play a guitar, do you, Bob?" Stuff like that. It was so there's a 3D experience, and that happened when I saw the Banshees of Inisherin.
Right, yeah.
The Banshees of Ed Sheeran, and this guy came in, brilliantly drunk, about 2 minutes after it started, with these panning shots of these kind of slightly bleak Irish islands and fields, and lo and behold, he too was Irish with his little bottle of Teacher's whiskey, and he was just going, "Oh," so you have to excuse my accent, I'm going to do it anyway. We've just had an Irishman on, so that's terrible, isn't it? But he was just going, "Oh, my God, Mary and Joseph, oh, look how beautiful it is. Oh, beautiful island. It's amazing." And like every single scene, he just like, there's scenes where they sort of fight, and he was going, "Oh, go on, get at him, son, get at him, go on, have at him." And he was just like, halfway through, people started being like, "Boo, shut up, mate." And then he started shouting back. Anyway, it ruined the film. And I'm sweating just telling you this story.
Do you know,
and it
if
has
you
nothing
like
to do
that
with this
experience, I think you should have gone to see the Minecraft movie.
Okay, what happened there?
Because it became a trend that there was something about, it was something happened in the movie where Jack Black said it's chicken something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but then all the youths, that became a thing, and they all started throwing things in the cinema. One man brought a live chicken into the cinema for this thing, and obviously the cinemas were like,
pretty good.
"Stop the movie, out you go." But yeah, great for the old TikTok moment, not great for the viewing experience or the cinema. So you have to clean it up.
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe that chicken's still knocking about. It's probably got more space than living in a barn.
Yeah, you probably had a great day out.
Great day out, yeah. Well, we should probably leave it there, Will. Except, should we recommend each other a film, and therefore our viewers / listeners?
Pressure. So actually, interestingly, so I was at a stag party over the weekend. It was my own. So there was a quiz about me, and one of the quiz was, what are my top 3 movies? So do you want me to just give you my top 3?
I also want to know why I wasn't invited, but you can talk about that afterwards.
And this was very difficult to decide, and a lot of people that were guessing went a bit too highbrow for what I was thinking. Like, all-time favourites have got to be like real, like.
You're doing things like,
I have to watch them over and over again. Love it.
Last Samurai, Das Boot, Battleship Potemkin.
Yeah, so it was The Boat That Rocked, because it's got an absolutely unbelievable theme tune, mainly, but it's also enjoyable.
Okay.
And then we've got the real 2 hitters. Shrek 2.
Back to the Future 1 and Back to the Future 2.
Shrek 2.
Shrek 2 and Shrek.
No. First one, you
Toy
skip
Story
it.
2.
Just go, yes. Toy Story 2.
That's actually your top 3?
That's what I put down, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't watched them for a while, but all time.
Now, I'm not going to say they're not good films. I am going to say there are other films out there. And if this was a podcast with Mark Commode, we would have a longer discussion.
Yeah, but I would say Shrek 2 and The Boat That Rocked are probably mostly related to the soundtracks involved, but they're also good films.
Okay. Did you watch them at the cinema at a formative age? Because, of course, you're only 19 now.
Most of my viewing of Shrek 2 was in the back of a car in France.
Really? Really? Because your parents could afford TVs and the headrests?
Yes, those that all attach them on. And they weren't built into the car. Or like,
Do you know when I was a lad, we'd go on holiday to Devon in our Volvo 240, which was metallic brown, and was made in the same year I was born, 1984. And for a while, we didn't have a tape player in it, so we'd bring our own little tape player in the back, me and my sister, which took D-size batteries, which were very heavy and horrendously expensive, and they probably only lasted for a few hours. And we'd listen to our tapes. And that's what we do. And once the batteries ran out, and do you know what we did, Will? I sang Beatles songs to everyone.
You?
Yeah, to keep our spirits up.
What was your favourite one?
Because we didn't have much back in the days.
You're 1 or 2 years older than me, so that's the age gap there.
That's yeah, different times. And then of course our children will be talking about how they had, I don't know, AI drivers and teleporters and
TikTok,
all kinds of things. Anyway, we can tell them about when people used to have jobs in journalism.
They could watch Cyclist Magazine Podcast in the back of the car.
Imagine that. They won't though, will they?
No, not at all. Definitely not.
No. Do you ever think that if you have a child, it will actually be interested in what you've done? Because I don't.
I think for maybe 10 seconds, and then when they find out themselves.
Yeah, that's true. I think there might be a time when you'll have died and they'll be looking through some things and they'll come across a magazine and they'll look at it and it will make them cry, but they won't really be taking in what the magazine is. It will just be because it was an object that you had some kind of affiliation to.
Yeah, to be fair, when your daughter finds all of your face and your arse on the cover of Cyclist Magazine, that'll be a really nice moment.
That will be a lovely moment. Anyway, on that lovely moment, the highs and lows, the bookending of life, we start pooing our pants.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
In the middle,
is a great
we watch
film.
films that are poo pants.
Could have put that on there. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Is it a good film? I've never actually watched it. You need to watch. There's only one Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and that is the original BBC TV series, which I had on VHS, which you will have never seen on VHS.
I have actually.
Really? What, in a museum?
No, my sister used to record Yu-Gi-Oh on them.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh? What's that?
It's like it's children's cartoon card game thing. Post Pokemon.
Okay. Post Pokemon. Again, I begin and end with Pokemon. Let's call it a day. This is ridiculous. There's probably only one person that's listened this far, and that's Lawrence Kilpatrick.
And my dad.
Because he's a big fan of them. And your dad?
Yeah.
Well, they're listening together.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, until next time, Will, let's keep our eyes glued to those riveting sprint stages and all of those points bonuses on offer.
Yeah. To be fair, the punchy finishes are good stuff. And Mur de Britannia, they do it twice. So at least you get a little bit more.
The Mur de Britannia. Mur de Britannia. Britannia rules the waves.
The Wall of Britannia. Wall of Brittany.
That was the last, the denouement of the marathoner was the Mur de Giat, which I think is something like the Wall of the Cat, maybe. So you've done all this climbing, and the last thing you do is a 450-metre 90% climb into town. It's so tight. Anyway, on that note, toodaloo.
Toodaloo.